Hello, my name is Jerrica Miles, and this is my video submission for skill number 9, handling restraint of felines. Whenever you approach any new animal, it's always very important to remember that any animal can bite in any situation. So you always want to approach with caution. Most animals, especially when a stranger approaches them, you want to make sure to do it just kind of slowly and cautiously so that they don't feel threatened in any way. It helps to talk softly to the animal, just to kind of reassure them that you're not there to hurt them. Whenever you approach an animal in a cage, it's best before getting it out of the cage to try to call it towards the front of the cage. It makes it a little easier sometimes, just to kind of get them out successfully without, hurting yourself or them getting away from you. So for this video, I will be using, she's actually my cat Priya. She is roughly about a 7-year-old spayed domestic short hair. She's a very sweet little tripod, so she will be assisting me today. First, we're going to get her out of the cage. I'm going to talk softly to her, coax her to the front, and then with cats, anytime you go to grab them, you always want to make sure to scruff them first, just because that helps you have a good hold on the cat, and then also helps you control their head, so that will help to prevent any kind of bites if you have good control of the head. Also with cats, whenever you're carrying them, it's good to remember that once you have them by the scruff and you support their body to pick them up, tuck them close to your body, because that will also help to give you control of the animal while you're walking around with it, and you'll be less likely to possibly lose the animal. So, Priya, it's okay. Priya. So I'm going to scruff her, and I'm going to support her back end as I pull her out of the cage, tuck her into my body, support her front legs. This will also help kind of control her back legs and front legs, so hopefully you won't get scratched either while you're handling the cat. So first, we're going to put Priya here on the table. Now I have some towels here. We're going to do a towel restraint. Towel restraints are very good with cats, especially if they're, scared or fractious. It kind of helps give you just a little bit better way to hold on to them and helps secure their feet. Towel restraint is really good for venipuncture because you can secure all of the limbs and still be able to have one limb free for that venipuncture, and be able to hold it, well, so that they're more cooperative. So you want to make sure that whenever you're doing the towel wrap, that if, for instance, if you're doing venipuncture, you would make sure to leave one arm out. But if for some reason you needed the whole cat wrapped, like for instance, if you had a fractious cat that needed an examination on possible, the cranial region, and it was just kind of difficult to keep the cat, from getting away or, possibly injuring itself or you, the towel wrap just kind of helps to keep a cat secure and keep their paws secure, which is what you kind of need to worry about with cats that still have their claws, because you don't want anybody to get scratched. So first, you want to make sure that you have front part of your towel. You're going to bring it up and kind of tuck it in that way, and then you can leave, like I said, one leg out just so that you have that leg for venipuncture. But take the towel and make sure that their leg is kind of tucked in, because that will help to keep that other leg that's in the towel secure so that they don't get loose and possibly scratch you or get away. So you want to take your towel, just like with swaddling a baby, you want to bring one side over first, tuck it in, and then anytime you put any kind of animal in any restraint, you want to make sure that you have enough restraint to keep the animal contained, but not enough restraint that you are possibly going to injure the animal or, more importantly, restrict the breathing. You definitely don't want to do anything that's going to make it harder on the animal to breathe or stress them out over necessarily. So we're going to tuck in, and then we're going to bring the back part up. And then once we have that, we're going to bring the towel, wrap it around. Now, as far as using 2 towels, I like to kind of go in the opposite direction that I did with the first towel, just because I feel like it helps give you a little bit more of a secure wrap, makes it a little bit harder for them to wiggle loose. So again, with this bottom towel, you're going to bring it up, tuck it in, You can leave that leg out that you're going to be doing your venipuncture on. So, and then we're going to take your towel around, tuck it in, get a nice tuck, bring up your back, and then bring your towel around. And then once your animal is nice and tucked into your towel wrap, as you can see, she's now secure. Our leg is out for our venipuncture that we are going to be doing. She's ready to go. Her arms or her paws are, restricted, so she's not going to be able to claw us. And then also, I'm not going to have to worry about as much containing those limbs. So I will be able to focus more on containing her head so that, I can more easily prevent any bites. So this is a simple towel wrap, and I feel that it really is a useful tool to use. Okay, so now I'm going to be discussing cat bag restraints. This is just your simple normal cat bag. They come in varying sizes. You can get from, I believe they have extra small now up to large and extra large for your husky or kitties. Priya is just your average size cat, so for her, this is a large bag, so she should fit, pretty well in it. But you want to make sure that your bag's not too big because you don't want to give them unlimited movement. A lot of times that makes it a little bit harder to restrain them. And then also you don't want it to be too small because for one, you don't want to restrict any kind of breathing, and you want to also be able to manipulate the cat's limbs while it's in there if you need to. And that's what cat bags have these nifty little zipper areas that you can actually pull out each individual limb. I feel like cat bags are really good for any kind of procedure that you're not going to need to be manipulating multiple limbs on a cat, especially a fractious cat. If you have to do a nail trim on a fractious cat, sometimes that can be a little difficult. Well, with cat bags, it makes it a little bit easier, especially the ones that have the zippers for the individual legs. So before you place the cat bag on the cat, you want to make sure, for one, that all of your extra zippers are closed, because you don't want to get your cat securely in your cat bag and then, you have a limb that's loose that you didn't intend to be loose because you didn't realize that all your zippers were closed. So when placing the cat in the cat bag, I just like to make sure that it's nice and flat on the table. You want to make sure, again, with cats, to scruff the cat, and then make sure you support their body. Just lift them up and set them in the cat bag. Whenever you get them on the cat bag, the first thing you need to be concerned with is actually securing the neck Velcro. This will help to keep the cat contained in your cat bag while you're zipping them up. Priya is being very cooperative. She's a very sweet kitty. Most cats that you need to put in a cat bag are not cooperative. So most of the time they're going to be kind of jumping around and trying to get loose. So whenever you have that Velcro in place, that'll kind of just help you to keep your cat bag in place so that you can zip it and properly contain the kitty. So while you continue to have a good hold on the cat, just so they don't roll off the table, always make sure that you keep your hands on the animal while you're trying to zip them up. A lot of times it is, especially if you have a fractious animal, it's best to have an assistant. Because Priya is so well behaved, I'm able to do this on my own and not really necessarily worry about her trying to go anywhere. But if you do have an uncooperative animal, always ask for help. It's always best to ask for help instead of trying to do it by yourself and, not succeeding and possibly you getting hurt or the animal getting hurt. So once we have her Velcro, we're going to just zip up the cat bag, and most of them have like little guards that are in place to kind of help prevent zipping their fur up. But you want to make sure to just, as you zip it up, especially if you're doing a long-haired cat, just to kind of, help run your finger in there too. That'll help kind of keep any fur out of the way as you zip it up, because especially if the cat's upset, if you're pulling all their fur out, they're going to get even more upset, make it more difficult. So as you can see now, our kitty is secure in our cat bag. Even though she is secure, yet again, always make sure that you keep hands, or somebody keeps hands on the animal, because while they are secure in the bag, they can still, kind of panic and, hurt themselves by possibly rolling off the table. So always have secure arms on the animal to keep them in place. So, and then also another good tool that you can use if you do have a fractious cat, because sometimes like cat bag isn't enough. You still are having difficulty controlling head, and they're just not calm. A muzzle is a good tool that you can employ. And with cat muzzles, they're a lot different than the dog muzzles. The dog muzzles just typically go over the muzzle itself. They don't cover the eyes, whereas with the cat muzzles, they go up far enough on the head that they cover the eyes. And I feel like this also helps to calm a cat too. It seems that if they can't see what's going on around them, they tend to calm down a little bit. And then also it helps just kind of keep them safe and keep you safe from bites. Cat bites can be very bad sometimes. Have a lot of bacteria in their mouths, can lead to like some pretty bad infections. So we just want to make sure everybody stays safe. So just always best to at least have a muzzle close to hand if you need it. So you want to make sure that your muzzle is the proper size. If you put a muzzle on that's too big, it's more than likely the cat's going to get it off, and then it defeats the purpose. You're probably going to get bit. So, and if you use a muzzle that's too tight, you risk possibly impeding the animal's breathing. That's something that you want to avoid at all costs, especially an animal that is here or at your clinic for any kind of procedure. Most of the time, they're not doing too well, so you don't want to stress them out or jeopardize their health any more than, what is already happening with them. So just make sure your cat muzzle is the correct size. It's best to kind of go at a kind of scooping angle, I feel, just because it helps kind of get your muzzle in place. You just want to pull it in place. Make sure that you firmly Velcro it. And as you can see now, the cat's entire face is covered. They do have a little hole that they can breathe through properly. You want to make sure and check that, your muzzle isn't impeding their breathing in any way. Make sure that it's not covering their nostrils or their mouth too much, but still, yet again, that it's covering enough that the cat's not going to be able to bite. So this just kind of helps, I think, calm the cat and keep everyone safe in the situation. So like I said, it's just always best to have muzzles on hand and know how to properly administer them. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to properly utilize the stretch technique when restraining a cat. This kind of technique has a lot of uses in clinical practice whenever you're handling cats. It helps kind of keep them restrained well enough to where you can perform any procedures that you need to without kind of causing any undue stress or anything on the animal. So to place a cat in to use stretch technique when handling a cat, first you want to make sure that you scruff the cat. I am right-handed, so I normally scruff with my right hand to kind of give me a little bit more control of the animal. And then once you have the animal scruffed, you just place the animal on its side with your forearm securely against its spine. This helps to give you more control over the animal, kind of gives you a little bit more stability with the hold. And then you can also tell if you are doing it right because the cat's tail is naturally going to want to curl in if you have them in proper stretch technique. Now, Priya here, she is a tripod. She's only got one leg on the back. But with an animal that does have all of its limbs, you would want to make sure to just grasp both of those back legs. Normally I use a finger in between each, just kind of help me hold on a little bit better. And then you would just take their legs and their tail and kind of stretch them out a little bit. And that just kind of helps give you a secure hold on the cat. And that is how to apply stretch technique restraint when handling a cat. I'm going to be discussing how to properly remove a cat from an upper cage. It's pretty much the same as, removing them from, your normal hip level cage, but you just kind of want to make sure that whenever you open the cage that you don't open it too much at first. You can, of course, use your free hand to block the cage just to kind of help keep the cat back so they don't come, bolting out at you, which can happen sometimes, especially if the cat's afraid. They just want to look for a source of escape, and they're going to take any opportunity that they get. So you just kind of need to keep that in mind. Just be aware anytime you're removing a cat from a cage, any cage for that matter. But it does seem to be a little bit more of an issue, like whenever you remove from an upper cage or a lower cage. So again, whenever you first approach the cage, do so slowly, speak quietly, softly to the animal, because you want to kind of just calm them and reassure them, like fast-paced movements, jerky movements, or, real loud, scary noises, have a tendency to scare them worse. So we just kind of want to keep the animal as calm as possible, just to try to make it a little bit easier on us and a little bit easier on them as well. At this point, she's pretty much kind of had enough of me messing with her, so she's laying in the back of the cage. She's not attempting to come forward. So whenever you have an animal that doesn't want to come towards the front of the cage, then, go ahead and move in. But again, make sure that you still have this door to where you can quickly use it as a barrier if necessary to keep the cat from escaping. So we're just going to walk up to her. Kitty, 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 kitty. Again, just kind of want to pet her, reassure her, and then make sure that you scruff the cat. And then for animals that want to hide in the back of the cage, normally I scruff them and then kind of gently pull them to the front of the cage while they're scruffed. Make sure I have a hand underneath their abdomen to support their weight. And then once I get them out, make sure that while they're scruffed, that you tuck them close into your body, just kind of help control the animal. I personally am right-handed, so normally animals are tucked under my left arm. And then I, of course, grab those front legs, those front paws with my left hand, just to kind of help more securely carry that animal so that it can't scratch me or bite me. I've got the head controlled, or, and I've got it tucked up against my body so it can't really wiggle free or necessarily get me too bad with those back claws. So again, it's just important to keep your animal contained. So now I'm just going to be demonstrating how to properly remove a cat from a lower cage. Again, anytime you approach an animal in a cage, just do so cautiously. Any animal can bite at any time. Most of the time they aren't feeling well, which is why they're here. It's a very stressful situation. It's unknown to them. There's lots of noises, smells that they don't recognize. So just be aware of the fact that the animal can panic and bite, or panic and try to escape or scratch at any moment. So we just want to make sure that we are keeping ourselves, the rest of the staff, and the animal safe. So whenever you go to remove an animal from a lower cage, of course, always your main concern, one is, avoiding any bites, and then also avoiding the animal escaping. So whenever you remove an animal from a lower cage, you want to make sure to go ahead and get down. And your door in this instance, again, is going to be your main blocker. Never just fling your door open, because that gives them the perfect chance to, escape. So again, just talk softly, calmly to the animal. Try to coax the animal to the front of the cage. If not, then again, you employ the scruff technique where you scruff the animal and then kind of carefully bring the animal to the front of the cage and, support the abdomen to lift it out. So, so you just kind of want to move in. Just always go slowly, talking softly to the animal, just to help kind of try to, keep them calm. I'm going to scruff the cat. Carefully bring her to the front of the cage. As I bring her out, I'm going to support her body with my other hand, bring her out and tuck her into my arm again. Make sure that she's firmly and controlled, and before I attempt to get up. And then with any kind of animal, or lifting any kind of animal, you always, want to try to, again, get up with your knees and not your back. Even a small animal, if you get up wrong, lifting with your back, you can injure yourself. So just, always be aware of what you're doing, just to try to avoid injury to you and injury to the animal. So just make sure you smoothly get up. And as you can see, our kitty is restrained, and we can take her to do whatever kind of procedures that we need to. And then also, as far as, no, I don't like that. Just edit it out. So also, on a side note, as far as removing a cat from a cage, If you do run into an issue that you have a frightened or overly aggressive or fractious cat that needs to be removed from the cage and you can't necessarily handle it safety, you can always employ, of course, bite gloves. They should be, easily accessible where you are going to handle any animal that may possibly be overly aggressive. It just kind of helps protect you and helps give you a little bit more of a secure hold on an animal that is more willing to bite. Also, whenever we're removing an animal from a cage that's going to be difficult or dangerous, you can also use a towel to throw over the animal and then remove the animal that way. That does help kind of contain the animal a little bit more whenever you're removing it from the cage. Again, even with a cat, you want to make sure that you are still kind of able to scruff. And even a cat, you can kind of scruff a little bit underneath that towel just to more securely hold them. But the towel, will help to protect you from bites and scratches. And then also, I feel like in cases where they are a little scared, just having that kind of over them will help to calm the animal a little bit and maybe make it a little bit easier on everyone to get the animal the procedures that they need safely.